Yes, sweet.
So first off, who are you and where are you from?
I'm Joe Hancock. I'm from the far southwest of Britain, from Devon, and from the company Burn the Curtain. We make outdoor participatory promenade theatre. For us, it means making theatre shows that the audience can have some sort of effect on, some sort of way in which they can engage and they can become part of it by becoming characters in the shows and following the narrative and creating the narrative as they go. And also about visiting amazing spaces that they wouldn't necessarily otherwise think of visiting.
And your current show is Company Awards?
That's right, based on the Angela Carter short stories, and it's a show for runners and walkers. For quite a long time we've tried to engage with particular audience groups that are, rather than being like particularly tied to a particular location or place, are kind of more tied together through what they like doing, kind of communities of interest, as it were. So a couple of years ago we made a show for cyclists, The Adventures of Don Quixote by Bicycle, and for Company of Wolves we thought, right, okay, let's learn to run and make a show for runners and walkers, people who like getting out in the great outdoors anyway and doing stuff, and find a story that they would respond to and enjoy being part of.
So how did you guys get started doing that? Did you move from being a radio theatre company, or?
Well, kind of. Burn the Curtain was never a normal theatre company. It came out of our desire to make shows outdoors and to engage your audience in kind of creative play as part of those shows. I think it partly came out of frustration of not having the spaces to create work in, or your ideas having to be validated in order to use those spaces, and then put on a waiting list for a while until you could. And also just through our enjoyment of the outdoors. And we've got lots of wonderful outdoor spaces in the southwest, and they appeal to my storytelling nature, and you see these places and go, wouldn't it be amazing if you could tell these stories in these places? And also because they're places that aren't necessarily owned by anybody, or people feel that they have in some way joint ownership of them, or they're spaces that people go to anyway or enjoy cycling through or walking through or running over, and so they have a feeling that they are already included in what you're doing, because you're not taking them into a space that you own or that you have in some way transformed. It's much more of a level playing field.
So how do you design for that audience experience?
We tend to adapt texts, and I say text really loosely. So one of the first show that we made outdoors was called Henry's Quest, and that's based on a children's book, which is beautifully illustrated, and we basically told the story of the pictures. It's not a well-known story, but it's also an Arthurian quest story, so it's kind of a handle on it. Same with Uncle Lubin, which is a story written by Keith Robinson, who created Professor Brainstorm, lots of harebrained inventions. And again, it's very much picture-led as a book. And we tend to go for stories that people have some sort of handle on, but don't actually know the story of. For instance, Don Quixote, everybody knows Don Quixote and the fact that he charges windmills, but beyond that, they don't really know the full story. And also, it's a story that's broad enough that you can take the bits that you want from it. And it's also broad enough that audiences can exist within that and can go in different directions and come back together again. And that you can create a world of La Mancha that audience members or players can feel that they're within and can do things within, but they still come back to your narrative. There's not a hard and fast narrative in that way.
So what are the kind of things that they can do?
Well, they're given a role within the story. And so if you turn up to Don Quixote, you have to transform you and your wife into being a knight and a faithful steed. And then you go off on adventures with Don Quixote. You might become part of a rebel bicycle gang that challenges him to a race. You might also discover that you're going to help manipulate a giant puppet. You might also find that there's particular things that you do along the way, or you find along the way, that's important to the story. At one point you have to foil a guard who's guarding some prisoners, and you have to pick up his keys and very carefully, very quietly, without them jangling, make sure they get all the way to Don Quixote at the other end of the line. So everybody has done something as part of that little bit of story. There's nothing very complex, nobody's had any lines, but you've acted as a group, and you've created something as a group that you wouldn't have been able to do as an individual. Similarly, in Uncle Lubin, on his quest for his nephew, finds himself at the edge of an ocean and he can't get across, except somebody's got a box labelled submarine clips, someone else has got an envelope containing some instructions from IKEA, build your own submarine, and some lobster pots. With those things you construct a submarine for you to get across the ocean, which also needs several audience members to make the ocean work. But it's not stuff that's complicated, it's stuff that between you can figure out. And what you get is this really interesting sense that the narrative has just suspended itself a little bit. And you go into a kind of slightly lower performance state where you're having an actor with the audience, and they're talking to you and they're sharing stuff about how they might get through this problem, but they're still kind of part of that performance. Similarly, the Bureau of Extraordinary Survey, which we did last winter, you get your audience to construct their village. The first thing they do is they build a model village of their village, and they've got this giant jigsaw puzzle, which is a map of their village, but they then get to make their own house and put it where it should be, put down the woods, put down where the bogs are, where the rivers are, and so there's more of them than there is of you. They're basically, as a group, going to be more intelligent than you are. They are as a group going to be able to figure out more stuff and know stuff about in that context, their community, than you are. And so you have a conversation about that.
Yeah, that notion of conversation is really interesting, because the kind of work that you're talking about, the sort of things that you guys do, seems to me to allow the audience a great deal of ownership and agency that you guys have to respond to as well.
Yes. Yeah. But then there is that conflict between there is an overarching narrative that will happen, but the audience has things that they can do within that. And there's conflict inherent in that. But there's also a real kind of energy and beauty in that, in terms of as a group of people that is a different group of people to that which you had last night, you are somehow going to get from this point to that point.
And presumably, though those sort of start and end points are the same, the journey between them, because it's made up of different people and different decisions, is going to be a different journey each time.
Yes, to a degree, though I think possibly there's a little less than that than with some companies, in that because of the nature of the beast, if you're doing something outdoors and you have particular spaces in which those things have to happen, particularly when you have the large props and specific scenes that do need to happen in specific places, there is slightly less of a sandbox aspect to it, but there are definite decisions that the audience has to make. what is interesting about the way in which promenade plays a role is that it creates a different kind of response to standing in a room trying to make decisions. And we particularly played with this with company balls. You go for a run in the dark, you and a bunch of other people, you become huntsmen like that, and you make different decisions because you are physically engaged with what you're doing than if I had stood you in a room, given you a hat with a feather on it and said you are now a huntsman. You might have scratched your beard and said, how does this make me feel? Or what would I do as a huntsman? You know, if you know, you tell someone they're a huntsman and they have to follow this trail and chase a wolf, they straight away already know all the facets of what makes them a huntsman and what is particular about their kind of huntsman.
There's a really interesting thing about the physicality of that as well, which we sort of learnt from when we did 2.8 hours later, which is such a simple thing. It's basically tag that goes on with it. But because of the adrenaline that comes from running and from being scared, it changes the brain chemistry that is engaging with the experience. And though intellectually, this thing is not real, physically it feels so real.
Yeah, and it is that, and that's why promenade is so important, right, for me, in that I think you can convince an audience much quicker when it's on its feet than you can when they're sat down. Because on some subconscious level, you sit down and you go, entertain me. Whereas if you're on your feet, you are already part of that, and there is something about celebrating the fact that you're doing something together, and you're sharing the fact that you're running or you're walking or you're riding your bike together. And in terms of simplicity, it can be as simple as that. We're just going to all do this thing together. We're just all going to, run off with Don Quixote and have crazy adventures together. And that's a really simple thing that we're going to enjoy doing. There's going to be different facets to that, but at its core, that's all you've done. You enjoy riding your bike, so off you go. You enjoy going for a run, so that's what you do. But you make very different decisions when you're engaged on a physical level than if you're just engaged cerebrally.
It actually occurs to me in talking to you that it's kind of the absolute opposite of the kind of Breckian idea of the smoking theatre, where I don't want you involved, I want you to sit and critically engage, I will make decisions about how I feel about this. Complete opposite of that.
And during my degree I read a lot about Artaud. And one of my great quotes from Artaud is the fact that if somebody shouts fire in a crowded theatre, everybody gets exactly the same feeling at exactly the same moment. There's almost nothing else that you could say in that theatre that everybody would have that same instinct. And that is absolutely the polar opposite of Brecht. But it is engaging with that, and not necessarily in an uncomplicated way. And I think what we'd like to encourage with our kind of work is you can reflect on that and go, wow, I went and did that crazy thing and I'm totally sure that's real or not. But I definitely ended up doing something different at the end of the night than I thought I would do at the start.
What's it like at the end? We find with our work that the experience is really important, but then afterwards there's a kind of debriefing amongst the audience where basically they play, and then they turn to each other to go, hey, well, you did that thing and I did that thing, wasn't that really interesting, and blah, was it amazing, how blah, blah, blah. And that's about them going, they've had a lived experience that they then need to kind of narrativise retroactively.
Yes,
you get the same sort of thing?
That's true. Alex, co-founder of the company, has often said to me that, ending, we really have difficulty with endings because that kind of experience is difficult to end because it is an imposed narrative finish to something that you've spent a lot of time building up into being something that isn't just a simple start and end narrative. And generally as performers we do just run away. There's no thank you very much, we'll take the applause and we'll bow. There's not, because that is to admit that those characters don't exist. And I think that's a tradition in theatre that means an actor can come out from behind his mask and say, yeah, thank you very much, yours and I, great. And we kind of don't really want to expose the actor in that way, and also that's much more of an ego thing that we're interested in. And we're very interested in strong characters, but not at the expense of the audience. And so strong characters can be leaders and teachers, but they can't be massive egos, because otherwise the audience sits back and goes, gosh, you're really good. Look at you doing that acting thing there. You know all your lines, and that's just wonderful. What we want to do is for that performer to draw out from the audience what they think and what they feel about what's going on. And so, particularly with company of walls at the interval point, the point at which everybody's gathered quite much noise, they then put together the two groups, the gatherers, the walkers, and the hunters, the runners, to share what they've found so far and try and solve the mystery in quite what is basically a simple kind of whodunit kind of construction, you know, as you would do with a murder mystery, but on a much less focused way. That everybody's gone out and found all these things and found different ideas of what might have happened during the night, and then come together and share those ideas. And they do so at the end again. In fact, they're asked to make certain decisions at the end of the show about the characters they've met. So there are certain points at which they are asked to contribute to the narrative, and other points at which, just like a teacher goes, right, now we move on to the next thing, that they push the story forward. But also, because of the nature of it being prompt, the movement of the audience moves it on as well. And there is, so that, yeah, for us that's really the balance of how can you create something that is on one stage, you know, attractive to look at and interesting for an audience to view, but also something that you can be part of at the same time. And you know, I used to work on big outdoor theatre shows where loads of Harris fencing went up around a kind of 2-acre space to create these beautiful kind of sonnet lumiere visions, you know, the director can have complete control of. And I like making pretty pictures, but actually almost what I like as well is when that kind of gets burst. We had a lovely moment in Don Quixote, where there's a moment where he just kind of drifts off into the distance across what is a very, very long beach in North Devon to beautiful music, and there is Dulcinea off in the distance on the pile of rocks, beckoning to him, and you know, as a kind of theatrical, you know, cinematic view. It's wonderful. And there's a family playing cricket on the beach, right in the middle of that scene. And what was wonderful about that is, first of all, you know, this guy dressed as Don Quixote wanders past, and they go, okay, that's a bit odd. They hear the music and they look around, and they're kind of 400 yards away. There's about 30, 40 people watching them, you know. And then they kind of go, should we carry on playing cricket? And they kind of carry on playing cricket, and the scene is happening round them. And you know, what's wonderful about that is that it creates a meaning all of its own. You know, that this is just one part of a world, and somewhere somebody's playing cricket on a beach.
Yeah. Which is perfect for Don Quixote as well. The regular world just goes
absolutely.
on.
Yeah. And in fact, there's so many little happenings throughout that show because of the real world banging up against the world that he's created for himself. You know, one day he got attacked by a small dog while charging windmill. When we did Alice in Wonderland a few years ago, there was one moment of which, you know, 40 children, a giant white rabbit, and Alice hare around the corner of a beautiful National Trust property, and there's a tiny little rabbit nibbling on a leaf, and everybody just stops dead and watches this little rabbit. And, you know, Alice turns to the White Rabbit and goes, oh, is that one of your friends and relatives? And, you know, you just make up a bit of narrative with an animal, a few actors, and 40 kids, you know. And for me, that is a much more magical moment than anything you could construct and fabricate. Of course, they're very few and far between, but the great thing is that every performance in a public space has the possibility of that happening. Whether, you know, you have to ask 20 people to move their game of football because the sea is just about to materialise on a football pitch. Or whether, you know, your beautiful sea monster suddenly has somebody with a IKEA plastic bag underneath it. That's equally special because it has audience involvement in it.
I used to think ages ago when I used to run another theatre company where we do this sort of same sort of outside work, and it struck me that to survive in the outside world, theatre needs to be so much tougher than it needs to be in the kind of special black box, which means
it's got to be so permeable.
Yeah.
That the decisions you make, that the solid things that you know, the things that you pinion out it with, have got to be so simple and solid that anything else that happens in between that can be flexible.
Yeah.
Because any number of things can and will happen in between. And it's like I said earlier about, you know, the audience loving it when an actor cocks up. If they see an actor cock up and then cover it, or something unexpected happen and the show just accepts it and carries on, that's a wonderful thing for an audience to be part of.